And it's like big sponsors don't touch us anyway. So it's like it's very hard to there's not many mainstream brands that touch fighters. Like what sponsors have we got? Like alcohol, supplements,
Crypto.
crypto is big. We
Sportswear.
don't
Yeah.
fight gear. There's
You
like
think you
it's very niche. Like it's not like
Yeah.
a big mainstream food brand. It's not like Kraft is gonna be like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna sponsor a fighter because it doesn't align with like their values. You think like Red Bull won't touch a fighter? They I think it's more crazy jumping out of an airplane and
Hmm.
or the guy jumped out of a airplane with no parachute on. Can sponsor that,
Yeah.
can't sponsor can't sponsor a combat sport athlete. Red Bull doesn't sponsor combat sport athletes. Like a lot of places don't.
Yeah.
Like there's only a small market of
Uh,
businesses that will sponsor a fighter. Like we think it's mainstream, but like, is it really? Is it really? Do you see like a Geico? You see a UFC fighter on a Geico ad. You know what I mean? It's a family brand. They're not gonna touch them.
yeah. Well, when like I look at it as a big deal when when fighters get like sponsors from like car dealerships or like a chain like convenience store or something like that. You know, like the Korean Zombie, he's gonna fight Volkanovski soon. And he just got a sponsorship from GS25. GS25 is like a major corporation. That's like the biggest sponsor, one of the biggest sponsors you could ever get in Korea, and it's a
Wicked.
fighter. And fighting is so niche in Korea. Like it's looked down upon in some ways. You know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu is big because it's like a martial art, but fighting is like
Mm.
blood and your violence and all that shit. And the Korean Zombie getting that sponsorship was just a major deal. Nobody really cares around the world, but in Korea, it's like something that people really look at and say, "Wow," you know what I mean? Like that's huge. The Korean Zombie actually did something, with MMA in Korea. If he wins the
That's
title,
very
it'd
cool.
be massive. Yeah, it's very cool. And you guys too. I remember you guys getting. This was years ago. Like you and Kai were getting like car sponsorships. To me, that's
Mm.
still
Mm.
huge. You know what I mean? Like who gets car sponsorships? Not many fighters out there. It's a very. If you look at this UFC roster of like 600 fighters, what's the percentage of fighters do you think are getting car dealership sponsors?
Not
Very,
many.
very small,
Not
right?
many.
It could be in the single digits, right, of fighters. So that's huge. But I think Jon Jones, like, I think he fucked it up for everybody because Jon Jones at his peak, he was being sponsored by Gatorade. Nobody has been sponsored by Gatorade. Only Jon Jones
Yeah.
as a fighter. He was getting sponsored by Nike, and I know that Anderson Silva and I think Junior Dos Santos got sponsorships by Nike, but after Jon Jones, nobody ever has been sponsored by Nike, I believe. And I like Jon
That's a
Jones.
pretty
I love
big.
him as
That's
a
a
fighter,
that's a
but
pretty big blow. That's a pretty big fuck up though.
exactly,
Like
that's what I'm
for
saying.
Nike, they would just shit the absolute bed. Like being on drugs and crashing into a pregnant lady and then driving off. Like that's about as bad as PR that Nike could ask. It's about as worse as that deal could possibly go.
Exactly. And if imagine if that never happened, right? And Jon Jones was able to keep those sponsors, maybe that could have led to other fighters getting those types of sponsors. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That I'm just speculating. Let me put my
Mm.
fucking hat on, right?
I
I'm
thought I
just
was gonna call you.
speculating. You know what I mean? Like I'm just speaking free right now about could Jon Jones been the reason why the big sponsors are really like hands off, you know what I mean, of getting on with a fighter because possibility of that. And John is continued to fuck up, you know what I mean? It's not like he's just fucked up that one time and he kind of changes. Like he's just continuously fucking up. And I hope he does better moving forward. But that could have been like that point where we kind of went back a few steps. We were going steps forward with sponsorships, and then that point kind of went back a few, and now we're just trying to kind of get closer and closer. And like guys like Israel, he's getting like Puma, those are, I think that's a big deal, I mean, getting those types of deals. And there's other fighters out there that are getting sponsorship deals from like huge crypto companies. I think that's even big. But maybe that was the point where it kind of went back a few steps for fighters. And I wonder who's going to get the Nike sponsorship. You know what I mean? Who can get one of those? Because
Yeah, I think like I can speak for myself.
Mhm.
Like the bigger name guys, like you get to a certain point when like it becomes like getting blood from a stone, like getting getting money out of traditional like sponsorship avenues. Like you can look at Conor McGregor and what he's done. Like very rarely does he market something or promote something that he doesn't have um, ownership of. Dustin Poirier with his hot sauce, Conor McGregor with his alcohol brand, Masvidal with his alcohol brand, Nate Diaz's clothing brand, Nate Diaz's weed brand. Like they're not just advertising a company or they're not just promoting a company. It's their ownership. So whatever they promote, they own a share of, and that's important for young fighters coming up. Once you reach like a certain level, it's like it's important to create businesses and use your platform to promote your own business instead of promoting other people's businesses.
Yeah, you're right. And also, like you said, on the brand thing, like if you look at like even Volkanovski, he's created like his own YouTube channel. He has a business, I believe, the what is it, the supplement business, CMBT. I believe he's part owner of that company, and then he has some other stuff going on too. You know what I mean? So I think like fighters are starting to like do that more nowadays, and starting to think like, okay, I could rely on myself to do this stuff and kind of like diversify and put my hands in different pots. You know what I mean? Stuff
Yeah,
that
have
you know.
yeah, you have to as well because also also as a young guy like you say and you say yes to everything just like I used to say yes to all the interviews, you say yes to all the sponsorships. Like someone's like, oh man, I'll sponsor you this, and then you're just like, yeah, cool, and then you get like a load of products and stuff and you're sponsoring it, and then it turns out shit. Like you sponsoring a drink and then you get like a case of free whatever and you just start drinking and you're like, man, this tastes like shit and it gives me a headache. This is terrible. People come up to you and complain to you. They come up to your face and they're just like, I bought that drink. It gives me a headache and it tastes like dog shit. And you're just like, oh, like you're just like a young guy. You're just like, oh, I just did a post about it. I just did it for like a couple $100. You know what I mean? Like, but people complain about it, and it's bad for your brand. Like you promote something and it's a bad quality product. People come up to you and complain about it. Like if you promote a glove and it falls apart, people come up to you with the glove and they come up to you like you're a representative because you are a representative for that company, and they're just like, this fell apart in 5 minutes, and they'll kind of hitting you up for a refund. You're like thinking, motherfucker, I don't work there. I'm not giving you. I ain't giving your money back. I don't have that much. I don't have that much money. I just started fighting the UFC. I don't have the money to pay for that shit or buy you new gloves. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful about what brands you like associate your name with, and before you like promote it, you need to understand that it's like a quality product before you stick your name to it.
Well, I'm gonna just put this out there. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you want to pay me to brand some shit? Pay me. I'm here for you. Like,
You're at
it
that
tastes like
stage.
shit.
You're at
I'll
that
drink it
stage.
and put on that
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
eating
yeah.
grin. I'm at that stage. You know what I mean? I'm at that
You're at
stage.
that
Like,
stage. You're at that
I'm I'm
stage.
I'm on the street.
I don't hate the play. I respect that. I respect it. I'm not throwing shade at you or anything like that. I've been there.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll take 10 of them. Oh, this is great. Falls apart in 5 minutes. People just complaining, messaging you, being like, hitting you up with the complaints, like, oh, the handle fell off. And you're like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? That's your problem. I was like, ask the company. You know what I mean?
For real, you gotta. Yeah, it's just
Like people
it's
come up to me at city, like city kickboxing, and they're just like, "Oh, my membership, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Do I look like the receptionist, bro?" I'm just like, was like, I got my own job. I got my own problems. I was like, hit me up for my job. Hit me up. I got my own problems. Go. This is Eugene's problems. Take it up with him.
Thank you guys for watching the video to the end. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that we're putting out. We got a lot of things in the works, so please stay tuned.